Hey guys, welcome back to Storytime with YDRC. Today we are going to be reading Warriors: The Forest of Secrets. Now last time we started the prologue, we finished the prologue, and right now we're at chapter 1. So if you want to see the prologue, don't forget to check out last episode, which was the last episode of Warriors: Fire and Ice. So let's get started. Chapter 1. The icy wind whirled snow into Fireheart's face as he struggled down the ravine toward the ThunderClan camp. The mouse he had just killed gripped firmly in his paws. The flakes were falling so thickly that he could scarcely see where he was going. His mouth watered as the prey scent of the mouse filled his nostrils. He hadn't eaten since the previous night, a grim sign of how scarce prey was in Leafbear. Hunger clawed at his belly, but Fireheart would not break the warrior code. Clan must be fed first. A glow of pride briefly drove off the chill from the snow that matted his flame-colored coat as Fireheart remembered the battle that had taken place only 3 days before. He had joined the other ThunderClan warriors to help support WindClan when the Moorland cats were attacked by the other two clans in the forest. Many cats had been injured in that battle, so it was even more important for those who could still hunt to bring home prey. As Fireheart pushed his way through the gorse tunnel leading into the camp, he dislodged snow from the spiky branches above, and he flicked his ears as cold lumps fell on his head. The thorn trees around the camp gave some shelter from the wind, but the clearing in the center of the camp was deserted. All the cats preferred to stay in their dens to keep warm when the snow lay this thick. Broken tree stumps and branches of a fallen tree poked above the covering of snow. A single line of paw prints crossed from the apprentice's den to the bramble thicket, where the kits were cared for. Seeing the disloyal to my own clan? Tigerclaw turned to face him, and Fireheart tried hard not to flinch at the menace in the cat's tensed shoulders. I saw you in the last battle. The deputy's voice was a low growl, and his ears were flattened against his head as he spat. I saw you let that RiverClan warrior escape. Fireheart winced, his mind flashing back to the battle in the WindClan camp. What Tigerclaw said was true. Fireheart had allowed a RiverClan warrior to flee without a scratch, but not out of cowardice or disloyalty. The warrior had been Silverstream. Unknown to the rest of the ThunderClan, Fireheart's best friend, Graystripe, was in love with her, and Fireheart could not bring himself to wound her. Fireheart had done his best to talk his friend out of visiting Silverstream. Their relationship went against the warrior code and put them both in grave danger. But Fireheart also knew he would never betray Graystripe. Besides, Tigerclaw had no right to accuse any cat of disloyalty. He had stood on the edge of the battle, watching while Fireheart fought for his life against another RiverClan warrior, and turned away instead of helping him. And that was not the worst accusation Fireheart could make against the deputy. He suspected Tigerclaw of murdering the former ThunderClan deputy, Redtail, and even planning to get rid of their leader herself. If you think I'm disloyal, tell Bluestar, he meowed challengingly. Tigerclaw drew back his lips in a snarl and dropped into a half-crouch, sliding out his long claws. I don't need to bother Bluestar, he hissed. I can deal with a kitty pet like you. He stared at Fireheart for a moment longer. Fireheart realized with a jolt that there was a trace of fear as well as distrust in the blazing amber eyes. Tigerclaw wonders how much I know, he thought suddenly. Fireheart's friend Ravenpaw, Tigerclaw's own apprentice, had witnessed the murder of Redtail. Tigerclaw had tried to kill him to keep him quiet, so Fireheart had taken him to live with Barley, a loner who had lived near a two-leg farm on the other side of the WindClan's territory. Fireheart had tried to tell Ravenpaw's story to Bluestar, but the clan leader refused to believe that her brave deputy could be guilty of such a thing. As he glared at Tigerclaw, Fireheart's frustration returned. He felt as if a tree had fallen and pinned himself to the ground. Without another word, Tigerclaw swung around and stalked away. As Fireheart watched him go, there was a rustling from inside the warrior's den, and Graystripe poked his head out through the branches. "What on earth are you doing?" he meowed. "Picking fights with Tiger Claw like that? He'll turn you into crow food." "No cat has the right to call me disloyal," Fireheart argued. Graystripe bent his head and gave his chest for a couple of quick licks. "I'm sorry, Fireheart," he muttered. "I know this is all because of me and Silverstream." "No, it isn't," Fireheart interrupted, "and you know it. Tiger Claw's the problem, not you." He shook himself, scattering snow from his coat. "Come on, let's eat." Graystripe pushed the rest of the way out and bounded toward the pile of fresh kill. Fireheart followed him, picked out a bowl, and carried it back to the warrior's den to eat. Graystripe crouched beside him, near the outer curtain of branches. Whitestorm and a couple of other senior warriors were curled up asleep in the center of the bush, but otherwise the den was empty. Their sleeping bodies warmed the air, and barely any of the snow had penetrated the thick canopy of branches. Fireheart took a mouthful of vole. The meat was tough and stringy, but he was so hungry that it tasted delicious. It was gone far too quickly, but it was better than nothing, and it would give him the strength he needed to travel to the gathering. When Graystripe had finished his meal in a few ravenous gulps, the two cats lay close together, grooming each other's cold fur. It was a relief to Fireheart to share tongues like this with Graystripe again, after the troubling time when it seemed that Graystripe's love for Silverstream would destroy his friendship with Fireheart. Even though Fireheart still worried about his friend's forbidden affair, since the battle, he and Graystripe had rekindled their friendship so it was as close as before. They needed to trust each other if they were to survive the long season of Leafbear. And even more than that, Fireheart knew he needed Graystripe's support against Tiger Claw's growing hostility. "I wonder what news we'll hear tonight," he murmured in his friend's gray ear. "I hope RiverClan and ShadowClan have learned their lesson. WindClan won't be driven out of their territory again." Graystripe shifted uncomfortably. "The battle wasn't just greed for their territory," he pointed out. "Prey is even scarcer than usual. RiverClan are starving since the Two Legs moved into their territory." "I know," Fireheart flicked his ears in reluctant sympathy, understanding that his friend would want to defend Silverstream's clan. "But forcing another clan out of their territory isn't the answer." Graystripe muttered agreement, then fell silent. Fireheart knew how he must have felt. It was only a few moons since they had crossed the Thunderpath to find WindClan and to bring them home. Yet Graystripe was bound to sympathize with RiverClan too, because of his love for Silverstream. There were no easy answers. The shortage of prey would be a desperate problem for all four clans, at least until Leafbear relaxed its cruel grip on the forest. Growing drowsy under the steady rasp of Graystripe's tongue, Fireheart jumped at the rustle of branches outside the den. Tiger Claw entered, followed by Darkstripe and Longtail. All three of them glowered at Fireheart as they settled in a huddle closer to the center of the bush. Fireheart watched them through slitted eyes, wishing that he could make out their conversation. It was too easy to imagine they were plotting against him. Fireheart's muscles tensed as he realized he would never be safe within his own clan while Tiger Claw's treachery remained a secret. "What's the matter?" asked Graystripe, lifting his head. Fireheart stretched, trying to relax again. "I don't trust them," he murmured, flicking his ears in the direction of Tiger Claw and the others. "I don't blame you," meowed Graystripe. "If Tiger Claw ever found out about Silverstream—" He shuddered. Fireheart pressed closer to his side, comforting him, while his ears still strained to catch what Tiger Claw was saying. He thought he heard his own name, and was tempted to creep a little closer. But just then he caught Longtail's eye. "What are you staring at, kitty pet?" hissed the tabby warrior. "ThunderClan only wants loyal cats." Deliberately, he turned his back on Fireheart. Fireheart sprang to his paws at once. "And who gave you the right to question our loyalty?" he spat. Longtail ignored him. "That does it!" Fireheart mewed in a fierce undertone to Graystripe. "It's obvious that Tiger Claw is spreading rumors about me." "But what can you do?" Graystripe sounded resigned to the deputy's hostility. "I want to talk to Ravenpaw again," Fireheart meowed. He might remember something else about the battle. Something he could use to convince Blue Star. But Ravenpaw lives at the Two-Legged Farm now. You'd have to go all the way across WindClan territory. How would you explain being out of the camp for so long? It would only make Tiger Claw's lies seem like the truth. Fireheart knew he was willing to take that risk. He had never asked Ravenpaw for any details about how Redtail had died in the battle against RiverClan all those moons ago. At the time, it seemed more important to get the apprentice out of Tiger Claw's way. Now he knew that he had to find out exactly what Ravenpaw saw, because he was becoming more and more certain that his friend must know something that could prove just how dangerous Tiger Claw was to the clan. "I'll go tonight," Fireheart mewed softly. "After the gathering, I'm going to slip away. If I bring back a fresh kill, I can say I've been hunting." "You're taking a big risk," mewed Graystripe, giving Fireheart's ear a quick and affectionate lick. "But Tiger Claw is my problem too. If you're determined to go, then I'm coming with you." The snow had stopped and the clouds had cleared away by the time the ThunderClan cats, Fireheart and Graystripe among them, left the camp and headed through the forest toward Four Trees. The snow-covered ground seemed to glow in the white light of the full moon, and frost glittered on every twig and stone. A breeze blew toward them, ruffling the surface of the snow and bearing the scent of many cats. Fireheart shivered with excitement. The territories of all four clans met in the Sacred Hollow, and at every full moon a truce was declared for the clans to gather beneath the four great oaks that stood in the center of the steep-sided clearing. Fireheart fell in behind Blue Star, who had already dropped into a crouch to creep the last few tail lengths to the top of the slope and peer down into the glade. A rock reared up in the center of the clearing between the oaks, its jagged outline black against the snow. As Fireheart waited for Blue Star's signal to move, he watched the other clan cats greeting one another below. He could not help noticing the glares and raised hackles as WindClan faced the cats of RiverClan and ShadowClan. Clearly none of them had forgotten the recent battle. If it weren't for the truce, they would be clawing one another's fur. Fireheart recognized Tallstar, the leader of WindClan, sitting near the great rock, with his deputy, Deadfoot, beside him. Not far away, Running Nose and Mudfur, the medicine cats of ShadowClan and RiverClan, sat side by side, gazing at the other cats with eyes that reflected the moon. Beside Fireheart, Graystripe's muscles were tense, and his yellow eyes glowed with excitement as he stared down into the glade. Following his gaze, Fireheart saw Silverstream emerge from the shadow, her beautiful black and silver coat rippling in the moonlight. Fireheart suppressed a sigh. "If you're going to talk to her, be careful who sees you," he warned his friend. "Don't worry," Graystripe meowed. His front paws kneaded the hard ground as he waited for the moment when he could be with his RiverClan cat again. Fireheart glanced at Blue Star, expecting her to give the signal to descend into the clearing. But instead, he saw Whitestorm pad up and crouch beside her in the snow. "Blue Star." Fireheart heard the noble white warrior murmur. "What are you going to say about Broken Tail? Will you tell the other clans that were sheltering him?" Fireheart waited tensely for Blue Star's answer. Broken Tail had once been Broken Star, leader of ShadowClan. He had murdered his own father, Ragged Star, and stolen kits from ThunderClan. In retaliation, ThunderClan helped Broken Star's own clan to drive him out into the forest. Not long after, Broken Star had led a band of rogue cats to attack the ThunderClan camp. In the battle, Yellowfang, the ThunderClan medicine cat, had scratched his eyes, and now Broken Tail was a prisoner, blind and defeated. Even though the former leader had been stripped of his StarClan given name, he was kept under close guard. Fireheart knew that the other clans would expect ThunderClan to have killed him, or driven him out to die in the forest. They wouldn't welcome the news that Broken Tail was still alive. Blue Star kept her gaze fixed on the cats in the clearing below. "I will say nothing," she replied to Whitestorm. "It doesn't concern the other clans. Broken Tail is ThunderClan's responsibility now." "Brave words," growled Tiger Claw from where he sat on the other side of Blue Star. "Or are we ashamed to admit what we've done?" ThunderClan has no need to be ashamed for showing mercy, Bluestar retorted coolly. But I see no reason to go looking for trouble. Before Tigerclaw could protest, she sprang to her paws and faced the rest of the ThunderClan cats. Listen, she meowed. No cat is to talk about the attack by the rogue cats, or mention Broken Tail. These are matters for our clan alone. She waited until meows of agreement came from the assembled cats. Then she flicked her tail to signal that the ThunderClan cats could join the other clans below. She raced down through the bushes, with Tigerclaw just behind her, his huge paws scattering snow. Fireheart bounded after them. As he slid out of the bushes into the clearing, he saw that Tigerclaw had stopped close by, and was giving him a suspicious stare. Graystripe, Fireheart hissed quietly over his shoulder. I don't think you should go off with Silverstream tonight. Tigerclaw's already... Fireheart suddenly realized that Graystripe was no longer beside him. Looking around, he saw his friend disappearing behind the great rock. A heartbeat or two later, Silverstream skirted around a group of ShadowClan cats and followed him. Fireheart sighed. He glanced at Tigerclaw, wondering if the deputy had seen them go. But Tigerclaw had padded away to join One Whisker from WindClan, and Fireheart let the fur lie flat on his shoulders again. Pacing restlessly across the clearing, Fireheart found himself near a group of elders. Patchpelt from ThunderClan and others he did not know, crouching beneath a glossy-leaved holly bush, where the snow did not lie so thickly. Keeping one eye out for Graystripe, Fireheart settled down to listen to their conversation. I remember Leafbeard even worse than this. It was an old black Tom who spoke, his muzzle turned to silver and his flanks scarred from many a fight. He had the scent of WindClan on his short, patchy fur. The river was frozen for more than 3 moons. You're right, Crowfur, a tabby queen agreed, and the prey was scarcer too, even for RiverClan. For a heartbeat, Fireheart felt surprised that the two elders from recently hostile clans could talk calmly without spitting hatred at each other. But then, they were elders, he reflected. They must have seen many battles in their long lives. Young warriors today, the old black cat added with a glance at Fireheart. They don't know what hardship is. Fireheart scruffled among the dead leaves under the bush and tried to look respectful. Patchpelt, crouched close to him, gave a friendly flick with his tail. That must have been the season when Bluestar lost her kits, recalled the ThunderClan elder. Fireheart pricked up his ears. He remembered Dappletail saying something once before about Bluestar's kits, who were born just before she became clan deputy. But he had never learned how many kits she had had, or how old they were when they died. And you remember the thaw of that leaf bear? Crowfur interrupted Fireheart's thoughts, his eyes unfocused as he lost himself to his memories. The river in the gorge rose nearly as far as the Badgersets. Patchpelt shivered. I remember it well. ThunderClan couldn't cross the stream to come here for the gathering. Cats were drowned, the RiverClan queen remembered sadly. Prey, too, Crowfur added. The cats who survived nearly starved. May StarClan grant it's not so bad this season, Patchpelt mewed fervently. Crowfur spat. These young cats would never cope. We were tougher in those days. Fireheart could not help protesting. We are strong warriors now. Who asked your opinion? Growled the cranky old Tom. You're hardly more than a kit. But Fireheart broke off as the air was filled with a shrill yowl and all the cats fell silent. He turned his head to see 4 cats on top of the great rock, with silhouettes in the silver moonlight. Shh, hissed Patchpelt. The meeting's about to start. He twitched his ears at Fireheart and purred softly. Take no notice of Crowfur. He'll find fault with StarClan. Fireheart gave Patchpelt a grateful look, tucked his paws under him, and settled down to listen. Tallstar, the WindClan leader, began by announcing how his cats were recovering after the recent battle against RiverClan and ShadowClan. One of our elders has died, he meowed, but all of our warriors will live to fight another day. he added meaningfully. Nightstar flattened his ears and narrowed his eyes, while Crooked Star let out a threatening growl from deep in his throat. Fireheart's fur prickled. If the leaders started to fight, their cats would fight too. Had it ever happened at a gathering? He wondered. Not even Nightstar, ShadowClan's bold new leader, would risk the anger of StarClan by breaking the sacred truce. As Fireheart apprehensively watched the bristling cats, Bluestar stepped forward. This is good news, Tallstar, she mouthed smoothly. All of us should rejoice to hear that WindClan grows strong again. Her blue eyes glowed in the moonlight as she glanced at the leaders of ShadowClan and RiverClan. Nightstar turned away from her gaze, and Crooked Star dipped his head, his expression unreadable. It had been ShadowClan, under Broken Star's cruel command, that had first driven WindClan away, so that they could extend their own hunting grounds. RiverClan had taken advantage of their exile to hunt in the deserted territory. But after Broken Star's exile, Bluestar had convinced the other leaders that the life of the forest depended on all 4 clans, and that WindClan should return. Fireheart shivered as he remembered the long and difficult journey he had made with Graystripe to find WindClan and bring them home to their bleak upland territory. That reminded him of how he meant to cross the uplands to find Ravenpaw, and he shifted uneasily. He was not looking forward to the journey. At least WindClan is friendly toward ThunderClan, he thought, so we shouldn't get attacked on the way. ThunderClan's cats are also recovering, Bluestar went on, and since the last gathering, 2 of our apprentices have become warriors. They will now be known as Dustpelt and Sandstorm. Yowls of approval came up from the massive cats below the great rock, mostly, Fireheart noticed, from ThunderClan and WindClan. He caught a glimpse of Sandstorm, sitting with her pale ginger head raised proudly. The gathering proceeded more peacefully now. Fireheart remembered the previous gathering, when the leaders had accused one another of hunting outside their own territory. But no cat mentioned this now. A group of rogue cats, led by Brokentail, had been responsible. But the news that these rogues had attacked the ThunderClan camp and had been soundly defeated did not seem to have spread. Fireheart's secret about the blind Brokentail was safe. When the meeting was over, Fireheart looked around for Graystripe. If they were going to see Ravenpaw, they needed to leave soon, while the other ThunderClan cats were still in the hollow, and would not notice which way they went. Fireheart caught the eye of Swiftpaw, Longtail's apprentice, sitting in the middle of a group of young cats from ShadowClan. Swiftpaw looked away guiltily. At any other time, Fireheart might have called him over and told him to find his mentor for the journey home. But right now, all he cared about was finding Graystripe immediately. He forgot Swiftpaw as soon as he saw his friend weaving his way toward him. There was no sign of Silverstream. There you are, Graystripe called, his yellow eyes shining. Fireheart could see that he had enjoyed the gathering, though he doubted that his friend had listened to much of the talk. Are you ready? He meowed. To go and see Ravenpaw, you mean? Not so loud, Fireheart hissed, anxiously looking around. Yes, I'm ready, Graystripe mewed, more softly. I can't say I'm looking forward to it. Still, anything to get Tiger Claw out of my fur. Unless you've had a better idea. Fireheart shook his head. This is the only way. The hollow was still full of cats, preparing to leave in 4 directions. No cat seemed to pay any attention to Fireheart and Graystripe until they had almost reached the slope that led to WindClan's upland territory. Then a meow sounded behind them. Hey Fireheart, where are you going? It was Sandstorm. Fireheart shot a desperate glance at Graystripe. We're going the long way around, he improvised quickly. Mudclaw from WindClan told us about a warren of young rabbits just inside our territory. We thought we'd bring back some fresh kill. Suddenly alarmed by the thought that Sandstorm might offer to come with them, he added, Tell Bluestar, will you, if she asks where we are? Sure, Sandstorm yawned, showing a mouthful of sharp white teeth. I'll think about you, dashing after rabbits out when I'm curled up in a nice warm nest. She padded off with a flick of her tail. Fireheart was relieved. He didn't like lying to her. Let's go, he meowed to Graystripe, before any other cat sees us. The two young warriors slid into the shelter of the bushes and crept up the slope. At the top, Fireheart paused for a moment, looking back to make sure they had not been followed. Then he and Graystripe bounded over the rim of the hollow and raced toward the moorland, and beyond that, the two-leg farm. This is the only way, Fireheart repeated to himself as he ran. He had to find out the truth, not just for Redtail and Ravenclaw, but for the sake of the whole clan. Tigerclaw had to be stopped before he had the chance to kill again. Alright, so let's see. That's where we're going to end off this episode of Warriors, the Forest of Secrets. As always, before we end it off, don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. That's it. Bye!